What's up, guys? Today I'm here to discuss with you the M1 Garand. Proof Canadians can do something right from time to time. This firearm would originally be designed by John Garand. Now, the predecessor to this rifle, as many of you know, would be the 1903 Springfield, which would be a bolt-action rifle chambered in .30-06. The Army was looking for something that could fire much faster, but keep that same firepower that the .30-06 offered, preferably keeping the .30-06 entirely. That's where John Garand's design came into play. This rifle would be developed in the early 1930s in competition with a few other rifles. Now, the Army had certain standards that it wanted to adhere to with this rifle, with any self-loading rifle that it were to adopt. They wanted it to be under 9 pounds and be able to use the .30-06 cartridge. Now, originally the Garand would be chambered in .276 along with the Pedersen rifle, which it beat out. The original M1 Garand originally fed from a detachable magazine design, which oddly enough the US military did not prefer. So they switched to a basic M-block clip design, which is a very, very simple just clip of metal, carries 8 rounds in it. It feeds directly in the top of the rifle like so, and it feeds very, very effectively and very easily. The only downside that the Garand has is that you have to feed full 8-round M-block clips into it. You can't feed in a couple rounds, close the clip, and be ready to go. If you fired 4 rounds and you're about to charge a trench and you wanted a full clip, you have to open your bolt, take out the round, not let it fall on the ground unless you wanted your spent round to fall on the ground, eject the clip, put in a fresh clip, throw this one in your pocket, and use those spare rounds to reload later whenever you have a chance. That's why guys would have multiple ammo belts like this. I'm carrying the very bare minimum with my kit with 10 clips. That is the bare minimum. Usually the rifleman would have another 5, another bandolier of clips. A lot of times they had a small pouch with them, which I forget the technical name of, but they would have more ammunition in that, and then most squads would have a support guy, which his main job was to carry a shit ton of ammunition. Now, the reason it was hard to put a rifle in .30-06, or a self-loading rifle that is due to the long cartridge of a .30-06 and the new technology that semi-automatic rifles generally were. We had semi-automatic rifles from the beginning of the 1900s, but the reason we didn't have the military service is because the military were size queens. They wanted big, large rounds, knockdown power. You hit somebody, you're taking a limb off, you're taking a chunk of meat off, you're knocking them out of the fight. Now, Pedersen went with the .276 cartridge for his rifle, which was the Garand's competition. It would have a toggle bolt operation, much like a German Luger, and it would use lubricated ammunition. The original M1 Garand would actually be chambered in .276, the model that would win out over the Pedersen rifle in trials. Now, very last minute, MacArthur would come in and say, you know, switching everything to .276 is too much of a pain in the ass. We're already so far along the line with .30-06, and we have weapons that already shoot it. We have stockpiles of .30-06. This is going to be far too chaotic to switch over now to a whole different caliber. So at the last minute, the Garand's design would be changed from .276 to .30-06, and it would be put into production, I believe, not even 6 months before the troops would land on the beaches of Normandy. Now, you could imagine these troops had very little time on this rifle and very little training, but with the confidence that a .30-06, a semi-automatic .30-06 gives you with an 8-round reloadable clip is, I mean, compared to what these guys were going up against. Mauser pattern rifles, this is a Yugoslavian M48 from the 50s, but still, it's a Kar 98 pattern Mauser pattern rifle, much like what this rifle is going up against. When it would come to fighting the Germans in Europe and later on in Korea, the Chinese would use a lot of Mauser pattern rifles as well. When this becomes standard issue, and this is what you and all your boys are carrying, standard, and this is what you're coming up against, it's a huge morale booster. But I could only imagine going into combat, you know, you're in a squad and 4 of your boys have this, 1 of your guys has a Thompson, and the other one has a BAR. That's a fire team to be feared. I mean, maybe today when we see the firearms that we have today and how they outclass these guns, of course, we have things that are, the technology has far surpassed it. But in the 1940s, carrying this, you had to feel like a superhero. Now, Pedersen, who would lose out on his rifle, was really onto something, I believe, with that 276 cartridge. The lighter cartridge, I think, might have been the way to go. There'd have been less recoil, but of course, with the logistical problems with switching over to a cartridge, I think in the end, MacArthur was right that it was best to stick with 30-06. But as you see, modern day, we would move towards the smaller cartridge philosophy. The more ammo you can carry, better second shot acquisition. You can more punish a zone of fire. If you see some movement in a bush, you can punish that zone with shots rather than trying to get one marksman shot on a barely visible target. Now, the thing about Pedersen is that Browning would actually call Pedersen the greatest arms designer currently alive, maybe the greatest to ever live. That is a major statement from what many modern day people call the greatest arms designer to ever live, John Browning. Pedersen was not a lightweight at all, but unfortunately, history would remember Garand's name and remember Browning's name, but not so much Pedersen. But on to my particular M1 Garand. This is an all-original rifle. The only part that I think may be not original to the rifle is the operating rod, being that that is the main thing, taking all the force from the little bit of bleed off from the gas into the piston. Those operating rods can get shot out, and I believe that that was replaced. But everything else with this firearm is original. It came with a CMP commercial stock. I actually took that off and I got an original Springfield stock. I believe this was a stock made in the 40s, but it was never serviced into war. I believe this was a stock used in training, but it is made from those old 200-year-old black walnut trees that has grains so tight on it. The damn things are basically bulletproof. Also scored ourselves an original Union Fork and Hoe bayonet from 1943. Same year that the rifle was made, so we could feasibly think that this one could have came with this rifle. But guys, as far as my kit goes today that I'm wearing, I was kind of trying to go for a U.S. Army rifleman around the year of 1943, but these HBT trousers put me solidly in about the year 1945 because these wouldn't be issued until 1945. Didn't want to get an original set of trousers and be out here in the mud and ruin them, so I went with some reproductions, and we'll just pretend that I'm a late war U.S. Army rifleman, and we'll have to go with that lark. This is an original M1943 field jacket. This is an M1923 ammo belt, originally fielded in 1923 and used throughout World War II. And reproduction 1943 field boots. And along with that, we also have an original wool shirt, reproduction, I don't actually know the technical name for this helmet, but it is a reproduction Army helmet. But hey guys, I really appreciate you tuning in today for my little bit of nerdy LARP and to show off this really cool piece of history. You know, I never thought I'd get to hold one of these, much less fire it and hear that iconic ping. You know, originally you shoot it in video games, you see it in movies, but when you actually experience it and have it in real life, it has an energy about it. I think it's time to get this thing home, clean it, wipe down all this dirt, and get her back to safety. Appreciate you tuning, guys. Until next time.